Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen. I think something is happening.
I defend my family. I think I do a pretty good job of defending my family.
My sister, bless her heart, she's as loyal as the day is long.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Jackie.
Hello, Angel. How are you?
Good. How are you? Hi, everyone. I was watching something. Let me just tell the chat something. I was watching something earlier, and I saw that Strupit said that his membership was canceled. I don't know what that's about. I didn't cancel anybody, and I don't know why YouTube would, but I don't know. But hi, everyone. Hi, Mickey Griggs. Jason, I want to thank you for becoming a new member. Thank you, Jason. Hi, Tin Pail TV. Okay, so this is what Marbret Hunter said, Jackie. He said, I'm looking forward to tonight's show, especially Miss Orena will be on, Ms. Angel, in my opinion, I think the chat would have a lot of interesting questions for Ms. Orena if you would have kept it public. So I didn't. So what we decided is we were going to do this members only, and then we're going to put it public. So you members only get to see it first. Okay?
It's like a sneak peek, right?
Yes. So you're going to see, I mean, everybody's going to see it in probably a day or two. Hi, who else is here? Oh, he said free little Vic Orena.
Thank you.
Edwin. Hi, Edwin. Yes. Okay. Let's see. So hi, Edwin. Hi, Rocco. Rocco became a new member. Thank you very much, Rocco. Thank you. Project DARPA. Hello. Hi, Teresa Murphy. Hi, Wyatt Earp. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Jason. Angela. This is my very dear friend. Hello, everyone. If you want to help the animal. Oh, she put up my Cash App. She's a sweetheart. Thank you, Ange. Hi, Carol. Who else is here? Carol's also a very dear friend. Teresa. All my girls are here.
Hello, dear friends.
Yes. Let's see. Edwin. Edwin is the most amazing gentleman on all of YouTube. Edwin. He's a dog.
Wow, that's a big title.
Oh, here he is. He says, you're right here, Strupit. What are you talking about? Hey, Angel and Marla, I don't know what happened with my membership. It said that it was canceled. I don't know how to fix this. I did not do this. Please help me. Strupit, I don't know what you're talking about. You're right here. And there's your membership badge next to your wrench. Hi, Scott L.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you're there. I don't know what you're talking about. Canceled. You're not canceled. Yeah, see, Carol just told you that. Hi, Carol. Thank you. That my membership was, I don't get it. I hope I can fix this. I don't know what you're getting all excited about, Stupid. You're here. So hi, Real Deal. That's another good friend. Listen, so everyone, this is Jackie Orena. Jackie, tell them who you are.
Well, you just, introduced me. I am Jackie Orena, also known as the granddaughter of Victor Orena, who is currently incarcerated for the past 33 years. My grandfather is 90 years old, and he's in federal prison. He's currently not doing so well with dementia. He's had it for a few years, and, most people know him and relate him to stories from the 90s. So that's when he ended up going away. And, it was in news headlines and everything all over the place that he was involved with organized crime. And, there was a certain narrative that was painted out for that whole situation. And, as a little girl, when all this happened, I didn't quite understand everything that was going on. And then as I got older, and I started looking into some of the facts that involved his case and other family members' cases, I realize there's a lot more to the story that people don't know and that people probably don't talk about, you know?
Mhm.
So I think with his age being a crucial factor in his health, and I really want to see him come home, I think it's time to shed a little bit of light on his story and the situation surrounding his case. So this is my first podcast speaking about this. Um,
I'm so
and you
happy.
know,
I'm so happy that
well,
you
you know what?
agreed to this. I really
Well, you
am.
know what,
I'm so
Angel,
happy.
when you did say something to me, you know, it does resonate because there's a lot more to, you know, us being bonded with trauma in certain situations and
Yes.
things and lifestyle. You know, it's also important to see the other light of that. It's not just this glorious lifestyle people think of or the stories that they tell. There's families behind it, there's children, there's wives, there's people that are hurt, and there's people that are suffering. And just because someone was wrapped up in a group of people doesn't mean they're guilty of some of the crimes that they accuse them of. So you know, I think
Exactly.
that it's important that some of the voices that are told, like telling these stories, aren't just people that are, you know, informants or not truth tellers or people that are given the FBI narrative and then are speaking on podcasts about it. You know, it's time to hear other perspective on some of these things. So
Exactly.
that's why I'm here.
So, Jackie's grandfather and my father were friends. You know, they know each other. They were friends. And so Jackie's grandpa is how old now, Jackie?
90.
He's 90 years old. Go ahead, tell them what's going on with him now.
So currently he's in federal prison. Like I said, he is suffering from dementia. More so, he has glaucoma. He's nearly blind. He's in a wheelchair. He had a heart attack in prison. He had, you know, his stomach had like an aneurysm that burst. He nearly died several times in there. He's really not like, he's a shell of a man that he was, you know. He doesn't really know who he is certain days. Certain days he's very sharp and he's, you know, full of like laughter and telling stories. And then other days he doesn't know why he's in there. And I've been fighting for him for the past, you know, I don't know how many years, trying to get compassionate release or, you know, something of that nature due to his health condition. But other than that, there's a lot of other things that are involved in his case that weren't brought to light during the time that his trial was. So a lot of the stuff, like, you know, that you see on podcasts or the FBI narrative is that like my grandfather was like this rogue gangster that wanted to take over a family and just decided to start a war. The truth of the matter is, you know, my grandfather was driving home one day and he saw a car full of people, Carmine Sessa and Johnny Pate, who are both informants, you know, came up and attempted to kill him. And it was not to his knowledge at the time that these were people that were working under Greg Scarpa. And Greg Scarpa was somebody that was an informant working under Del Vecchio, who was an FBI agent. So all these things were not known at the time of my grandfather's trial. And basically, somebody who's, you know, in a position where someone's trying to kill you and you don't know why, he was defending himself in any actions that he took. And, you know, what happened was all of this evidence that put him away for 3 life sentences. We know how this works. They invented this thing called RICO, and they decide to try to take down an organization, organized crime, by putting a bunch of things together that don't necessarily have evidence. So, conspiracy to murder, things like that. You have situations where someone like my grandfather was never even heard on tape speaking about somebody being murdered or something happened, but they're pinning a certain murder on him that other informants then told stories that somebody else did it. So, you know, you're having one murder that's blamed on several different people at all different times. And yet, with a RICO charge, they give him 3 life sentences. So, let me go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, my grandfather was convicted of some crimes and put away. And then shortly after, my father was put away. My father was facing the same similar charges, and so was my uncle that my grandfather were facing. And, as you know, most people don't get an acquittal when it comes to life sentences with the FBI. Most people that are convicted are going away for a very long time. During my dad's trial, a lot of things came to light. One of them being the relationship between an FBI handler, which was Lynn Del Vecchio, and Gregory Scarpa, who was an informant, as well as
killing
killer
people
on the street.
Yeah, killing
Yes.
people as an informant.
Killing people under FBI watch with
Yes.
FBI being aware of all of these things. As a matter of fact, how this started, Scarpa was under the watch of Del Vecchio. Let's paint the character of Del Vecchio a little bit. He was a special agent in charge of handling, the Colombo squad. He was playing both sides, FBI, and he was
Yes.
playing,
Mhm.
he thought who he was. He was creating a war. Okay, so basically, he's giving Scarpa evidence of addresses, where people were, using FBI surveillance and information to give to somebody that was then killing people on the street. So you could even see there's one, it was Anderson Cooper did an interview with Del Vecchio, right? And in this interview, Del Vecchio admits on camera that he was aware Scarpa was killing people. He said, he would come in and I would say, did you murder these people? And he would smirk. This is all his words. So he was very well aware that one of the people he was handling was out killing people. Okay. And yet he has the power to then put other people away for conspiracy to murder. It's just wild how all these rules just work for one side. So one example, Del Vecchio one day called a task force meeting at 2 p.m. in the middle of the day for all of his agents to come in. Now, this was unusual, and a lot of the agents told stories afterwards that this was a very unusual thing for a task force meeting to be called, for all agents to show up. And while all the agents were not watching the streets, do you know what happened? Avenue U was cleared. Scarpa was then free and clear to go kill Nikki Black. So there was a hit made while this was happening. And you think that's a coincidence that, that Del Vecchio is calling all his agents in, and during this time, while he has everybody secure in a space, that a murder took place, and a murder in a place after a club was raided and all the weapons were seized. So Scarpa was able to go in there knowing that nobody was going to be armed, and he can go in and freely kill somebody. And this was under the watch of an FBI handler. Okay, this is a special agent that works for our government.
Yeah.
All right. Now, other situations, you have, I'm just trying to think offhand. You have also Frankie Sparacco. So one of the things
Is he an
also,
informant as well? Is he an
yeah,
informant? Oh,
he was
he
another
is.
cooperator that was shooting during the time of this war. Sparacco made a statement after that Del Vecchio would tell them, do not report to Agent Favo. He was, a normal agent that was doing his job. And Del Vecchio would tell them, don't report back to certain agents, because he knew they were real agents that were probably going to report this misconduct. So there's a lot of evidence, and that was a statement that was made too. This is all documented stuff. As a matter of fact, Sparacco actually came out after and said, there's something wild going on with this FBI. Him as an informant said, the FBI wants the Orena side dead. Okay. He said they will do anything. Okay. So this is all documented. And the corruption within those units were wild. They were playing war. And then they're blaming it on people like my grandfather, where my grandfather and, my father and all of these people were kind of pinned in this position where someone's trying to kill them. Someone's going after them. They're fighting this, situation that was all done and caused by the FBI and their informants.
Yeah.
And all of this was proven, all these documents and all of this is known facts. As a matter of fact, it was withheld by the government and the prosecutors during my grandfather's case purposely. But by the time my father and people like Billy Cutolo had their cases, this came to light, and over 24 men were acquitted based on the relationship of Del Vecchio and Scarpa. But my grandfather never got a chance to show that, because when you try to open up a new case or anything, it has to be, they'll say it's not brand new evidence, it's not this, it's not that. They will do anything not to shine light on this. But so many other people were, let go and acquitted from these charges based on the truth here. So this has been
So
very
in other
frustrating
words,
for me.
so what you're saying now is that your grandfather was convicted, and then while he's in prison, your father and all these other men get indicted. They get
Yep.
they now evidence comes out saying, showing what Greg Scarpa and what the FBI agent were doing.
Yeah, because
So
they were never going to tell that. So they were
right.
never going to shine
Go
light
ahead.
on that. They
Go ahead.
purposely withheld, the government, the prosecutors, everybody purposely withheld information that they knew during my grandfather's trial. So my grandfather didn't have a shot.
Right.
Like I said, all of this evidence came to light after, when everything started happening with Scarpa and a lot of these other agents. Listen, just because you're in the FBI doesn't mean you're corrupt. There's some bad agents and there's some good agents. So some of the people that were just going in to do their job made statements on the misconduct and the, mishandling that Del Vecchio and Scarpa had going on. There's another thing too. A lot of the stories that were in the news were all fed to the news people from the FBI. So and it's documented too that Del Vecchio was giving Jerry Capici information when he worked at the Daily News.
Exactly.
So he was feeding him these stories so that people believe these narratives and these fake tales and, the whole image that they've tried to present during my grandfather's case, that he was just this guy that went rogue. Okay. Somebody wrote, I think it's crazy how Del Vecchio wasn't found guilty. I'll explain that too.
Yeah,
So now you have the FBI says they're going to do an internal investigation on the Scarpa Del Vecchio situation. What does that mean? Let me ask you a question, Angel. If your kid came to you and someone said, go scold them for something they did, you're going to go, all right, don't do it again, and move it along. What a joke these internal investigations are. Okay. Because you have Judge Corman on my dad's case and all these judges that are making comments. And I have articles here that I can even show you. Like this one, it says, Brooklyn judge says former FBI agent aided in mob hits. There's black eye for the FBI. I have all these articles stating the fact that the FBI mishandled everything. You even have this article, My Father the Killer, where Scarpa's son said that the murder my grandfather is away for, his father committed. Okay, but they said, he's not a credible person. Who's credible? Let me ask you this. You're going to work for the FBI and you're going to say who's credible or not. You have people like Sammy the Bull, who lied a million times. Is he credible?
Exactly.
You have people, you have Scarpa, who's murdering people left and right. These are credible people. And his son gives a story and he's saying that he knew that his father planted guns under my grandfather's deck and that his father was
I remember
responsible for the murder.
Yes.
Well, guess what? During my dad's case, they asked for the evidence. They asked the FBI to come forward with the bag that these guns were in, because they said, find one hair, piece of DNA or strand of any of these people in the Orena family on this bag. Do you know what the FBI said?
What?
They lost the bag.
Oh my
They lost
God.
the evidence. It got lost in evidence. Okay. So that had to go away.
To Frank Licasio too. Frank Licasio was trying to get out. And they did the same exact thing. They said, oh, the evidence, these recordings were in the building of the World Trade Center. 9/11.
Yep.
Unbelievable. But go ahead. So they said that they lost the bags. Now what?
So, the thing is, my grandfather already got charged with all these things, and the fact of the matter is, conspiracy to murder on a RICO charge, they hit him with 3 life sentences. Now, They don't have him on video saying anything about this. They don't have any evidence that he's responsible. And they do have evidence and proof, though, that Scarpa is responsible for a lot of deaths. There's proof that Del Vecchio is giving him information where to find these people. There's proof that, Del Vecchio called a meeting at 2:00 in the afternoon during the time that his girlfriend, as he code called each other, was out killing somebody. So there's so much proof and evidence, and it acquitted 24 other men or more. And yet my grandfather doesn't have a chance for this case to be looked at. And it's so disgusting because I didn't understand it till I was an adult. I'm reading the same articles that the FBI put out, like reading what they're saying about my family. And I'm like, what's true and what's not? Because you're reading this and then you're like, these are like the greatest people in the world. And I see this life and I see like my family and how good and how kind and how whatever they are. And then you're reading these articles and you're like, who's the monster here? We're talking about people like Scarpa, who were, these are killers and these are people that are just, being
And he
fed.
was
I
like
mean,
the worst of the worst,
having
wasn't
a
he?
free pass. You're this killer person who's out murdering people, and now you have the FBI handler telling you, "Don't worry about it." You want an address. You want to find these people. Don't worry, the coast is clear. I have the guys off the street. Go do what you got to do. Can you imagine having that free reign as this like psychopath killer?
No.
Who was going to
No.
stop him?
You see what Tim
Nobody.
Pell TV said? Tim Pell said, you told me this the other day. What is this?
We're going to win this thing. So he's right. So agents, during their testimony or whatever, not even on stand, I think it was just like documented that they said Del Vecchio walked into the office, slammed his hands on the desk and said, we're going to win this thing. The war he was fighting. Him and Scarpa.
This is an FBI agent.
This is
an
FBI
agent.
Special agent handler who was handling the cooperators in this faction. So this is the kind of crazy shit that we have going on. Somebody said, it reminds me of the Whitey Bulger. You wouldn't even believe how much information they have. And you know what? A lot of people who have looked over this case, inspector generals and stuff, have all confirmed the information and the proof that we have. And it's just a shame because every time I file for a compassionate release or anything, I'm going to tell you right now, just so you have an understanding. I'll file, like say I filed last, maybe a year or so ago in September. They didn't get back to me with a denial till July of the next year. Okay. And they string you along and you get the approval from the warden and then it goes to the next level. Then it's just like, oh, denied. They said he's still a threat. Okay. He's still a threat. A man who's 90 years old in a wheelchair that cannot walk, doesn't even know who he is half the time, is a threat. But right after they told me that, 1 month later, this article came out in the New York Times, okay? And the New York Times said, I've reported on dementia for years, and one image of a prisoner keeps haunting me, okay? So the prison let in this reporter without any of us knowing, and it says at Federal Medical Center Devens, a federal prison in Massachusetts, there is a prisoner who thinks he's the warden, okay? He says, Victor Orena, 89, tells the prison staff, I'm going to fire you. Okay.
Oh my God.
And now it's saying this whole thing about my grandfather's condition and how they asked him, why are you in here? And he said, I don't remember. I don't know. So a man in this condition, right, that they're telling me is a threat, they then let in a news reporter, a person who has no idea about the case or the situation, is saying how pathetic and sad it is that this man has no idea who he is and he's in a prison. So which one is it? Is he a threat? Is he this pathetic man who doesn't remember why he's in prison? And are we a country that keeps people in prison when they don't even know why they're there? When taxpayers could pass them off to their family members and let them take care of them and let them finish off their life? These people are of no threat to anybody, regardless of the misconduct and the corruption in the case. That alone, he should have never been in prison. Okay. But now 33 years later, I think he served way more time than is needed here. I'm reading some of the comments and someone said, look what the FBI did to Donald Trump. Guess what? It's a lot of the same agents. It's a lot of the same prosecutors. They just
Yeah.
grew as they did all these cases. It's the same people that went after Trump. So I love that this administration is in because they are showing like shining light on the FBI corruption and they're going to go after a lot of people. And, I hope that this happens. It's like the only chance because for people like myself that had to be silenced for 33 years because you can't talk about things and you don't know what's right and wrong and it's just a crazy space that we live in. So at this point, it just seems that people's eyes are opening up to this and it's like the perfect time to be able to voice some of this, me being not involved in this life whatsoever, but being a victim of the person who's serving this life sentence at this point. It's not the man that's in a wheelchair that doesn't know what's going on. It's the family members. It's my father and my uncles and, all of my cousins and the great grandchildren and whatever, because, we're the ones that are missing out on some of, this time with our family. It's
tell
very.
everyone, tell everyone what happened with your father.
So, listen, it was the same thing. I was probably 9 or 10 years old.
But I want to get back to your grandfather because I want to hook you up with Chad Marks, who gets a lot of people out of prison. He recently got I think it was the Gemini twins. He got one of them out or both of them. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna try and hook you up. I'm going to get you his phone number and have you speak to him. But tell us now about your what happened to your dad.
So, the same thing with my father. He was obviously wrapped up in all of this. Same charges. His case was coming up. My dad was hit with like 4 different federal charges, so he did do some time. Unfortunately at the time too, the thing that people don't realize too, as like the children of this, I developed severe anxiety and panic disorder, so badly so that, my dad, when he was facing the cases, they move you from like MDC, MCC, Valhalla, local places until you're going through your trials and whatever. And I was able to spend time going to visit him. I had such bad panic disorder that when they shipped him off to Leavenworth and all these other places, I didn't see my own father from like age 14 to 19 because I couldn't even get on a plane. I would severe panic disorder, everything. So, the one thing I have to say though, like my father was always my favorite person to me. We were very close, even, me as a little girl. And I know you could relate, girls and their dads and whatever. It's like a special bond. And, especially when your father's like a real man's man, he, he's definitely one of my favorite people. So he got wrapped up in this and, I'll never forget when this was all happening and I saw my grandfather get sentenced to 3 life sentences and I knew my dad was facing the same thing. He had to sit us down and explain that there's a chance that he's never coming home, and, he was hit with a few charges. He did about 10 years altogether. My uncle went away as well. They were all wrapped up in this. But when this case happened and all of this came to light, it's obviously proven facts if they got acquitted on it. Their case, my dad had, I think, 7 defendants on his case.
And they were all acquitted?
They were all acquitted.
Okay.
They were all acquitted. And we had a big celebration actually after. And one of the jurors came out and said, he was like, the amount of misconduct and what the FBI was doing was so apparent and disgusting. The federal judges spoke on it. Like I said, I have articles. They said it was so disgusting, but it was a miracle. And it was definitely whatever it was, like God was looking out for him. And my dad was acquitted. So was my uncle. And, at least he did 10 years.
But this is, when you say your uncle, these are your grandfather's
children, his sons. Okay, my uncle John and my father, who is also victim.
Okay, right. So they're brothers. Okay.
Yeah, so they're brothers, and, their cases, like I said, all of this came to light. Um, Thank you, Jason. I'm reading the comments too as they came up. Um,
Yeah.
they what they do too with the federal, obviously they ship you as far as way possible as your family, and they try to make it real hard for the families, and they want to torture them, and they want people to like either flip or do this or do that. And you know my family was never going to be one of them. My family was never going to go that route. And I'm proud of who my family are as people. They're, we come from a very strong family that always has each other's back. They raised
Mhm.
us that way. Me and my siblings and even my cousins, like I'm close with my cousins, closer to my cousins than some people are with their siblings. And I love that because that's what like my family instilled in us. And to this day, that's part of the reason that I'm fighting so hard for my grandfather. It's just like, it's exhausting after 33 years. And it's like, we're just trying to make some headway some way. It's like someone listened to us. And it's so difficult when they pan you out to be like, these gangsters or whatever. You feel like you can't speak your truth or try to even ask for help or
Exactly.
try to get someone to even look at the case because they label you before you even have a chance. And it's hard. Listen, growing
Yes,
up
it's
too, I have
true.
to even tap on that. We all lived in Long Island at the time. We were in Queens, moved to Long Island. All of this happened during the time that all my cousins, everybody were in Long Island, right? And when everybody went away, all of the kids are going to school and whatever. My cousin Vicky was in class, and for the teacher took out a newspaper article on my grandfather and held it up in front of her entire class. And it
Oh
was
my
so
God.
inappropriate. And, even for, myself, we lived in a neighborhood where there weren't a lot of people that were incarcerated. So me and my brother would be outside playing like kickball or something. We saw the neighbor, we're like, hey, you want to play with us? And they're like, we're not allowed to hang out with you. You guys are like killers. And we're like, what?
Oh, wow.
So,
So
it
you
was
that was
hard.
living in Long Island? See,
That was like,
Howard Beach was not a problem. Everybody loved,
you know
they
what?
lived there.
Everybody, there's either you have two different groups of people. They're the ones that think
Yeah.
it's the coolest thing in the world, and then there's the ones that are like, shame on you. But I do have to tell you, one thing my mom always said, and my mom would never talk about anyone's kids ever. It was like her
Yeah.
rule. She would never talk bad about anyone's child or anybody.
Yeah.
And the kid who said he wasn't allowed to play with us, we grew up when I was in high school. I'll never forget it because his mother did not want him hanging out with us.
Yeah.
I'm walking through the hallway to catch my bus, and I see the cops come in and throw him against the locker and arrest him. And I was
Oh,
like,
shoot.
what the hell's going on? I couldn't help myself. I did see his mother, and I was like, it's a good thing you didn't let him hang out with us. Where would he be today?
Exactly, right? Exactly.
And you know
Um,
what? Even my younger sister, Patty, she had a situation where a girl was saying to her, like, your dad's in jail, your dad's in jail, your dad's in jail, you're this, that, whatever. She came home, she was really upset. And I said, you know what? F her, who cares, whatever. Years later, her father got arrested. He was a doctor. He ended up killing somebody by
oh,
mistake and went to
shoot.
jail. So you don't talk about people. My mom was always
Exactly.
right when she said you don't talk about
Exactly.
people.
It's true. And now is your mom still alive?
Yes, thank God.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes. My mother and father, you know, they're like, I admire them so much. They have a great relationship. Everything that my dad was through, my mom always had his back, stood by his side, and they have a beautiful relationship.
Oh, good.
My grandfather and my grandmother were together until she passed away. She passed away at 80,
Oh,
lung cancer. So, he was away during that time, but it's crazy. Like after everything that's going on, I mean, God bless him. He's 90, he's still alive, but it's,
mhm.
he's just the condition that he's in. It's not right. Besides this misconduct and all the evidence that he never should have been away, it's just cruel keeping someone in his condition incarcerated. It's, what are we proving here? You know, like, how much do you want someone to suffer, and for what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so so I had asked Jackie when I spoke to her if you know, s- what about an appeal? You know, like if all that information came out while he was already incarcerated, but the other people were all acquitted. Why wasn't,
Because
why wasn't it?
we don't have a fair justice system. And when you bring anything to the light, the real point is, if this comes out, there's a lot of other people that are going to have to come out of jail. And there's a lot of people that are going to have to go to jail.
Oh,
So they're going to protect this and cover it up. And my grandfather was the first example with his case, and the men that were on his case that are, that went away and whatever. A lot of people would be out of jail. And a lot of what they tried to create against organized crime would have to be undone. And it would open a lot of investigations on the FBI. So it's something that they internally investigated and would never be exposed. But I think the real problem is here that if this were to come out, there would be a lot more trouble. There would be a lot more trouble. You know, people are going to have
what
to be
ended
held
up
accountable.
Yeah, exactly. What ended up happening with Delvecchio?
Well, Delvecchio got a nice slap on the wrist. So
Yeah,
basically,
huh? What a
when
piece. Oh my God.
everybody pushed federally, they investigated, nothing happened. But with the state, however, when the state looks into it, you need solid evidence. There's no RICO, there's no whatever. They basically laughed at it, let him retire. He got to move, retire, and live his life. Probably even kept his pension, who knows? But he got a
Mhm.
slap on the wrist, basically. So he's responsible for more murders than anybody, if you ask me, in
There's a
reality
book.
of it.
Exactly, he is. Um, I don't get it. Oh my God, he's so corrupt, and yet he got away with everything. There's a book, Peter Lance. I was good friends with Peter Lance. He sent us, Angela and he sent us, I told you this story, autographed copies and he of all his books, but he wanted me to read Deal with the Devil. And I was like, "Ooh, I'm really not into, I'm not into this stuff." He's like, no, 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 you have to read it. You have to read it. And I said, oh God, he's going to quiz me on it. I know it. He's going to start asking me questions. So I did. But I did. I read it, and I have to say, I couldn't put it down. It was so infuriating to me. It was like my blood pressure was rising because I cannot believe, and Jerry Capicci's in cahoots with all of this. This
Mhm.
Delvecchio, the FBI,
Well, who do you think was feeding him information?
infuriating. He
Yeah,
what?
they feed. Who do you think was feeding the information to the press? It's the FBI going back to
It's
their
the
people, which
FBI,
would be,
exactly.
and during the time he was with Daily News before, then it was the Gangland, article there, then it became that. But this is all people that are getting their stories from one side. And it's like, hey, let this narrative go out there. This is like the real fake news. This is the original fake news. So, the media has a lot to do with what people believe and what's perceived, and a lot of the stories that are still out there, because as a lot of the stories that are out there are coming from informants that are told what to say, and we have
Yeah,
plenty of proof that
exactly.
informants are told what to say. And when the FBI doesn't hold up to their what they promise these informants, they then start telling stories about the FBI, and then
Hmm.
they disappear. So what's really going on here? How
Yeah.
come there wasn't proper documentation during all of these, situations? How come, even in a situation where, Delvecchio was telling all of the informants not to report back to certain agents? Why not? If you're all working on the same team, and we're all legitimate FBI agents, why are you withholding information from certain agents?
Exactly.
It's just, none of it makes sense.
Yeah. I remember part of it was there was this detective. He was just a regular detective, right? straight laced, by the book. But he was friends with someone who was, considered like a gangster. But they were friends for years and years. Their parents were friends. They were friends, like they knew each other from when they were little. And so he would have, I think Peter Lance said he would go there on Sundays and eat meatballs, have meatballs and stuff. What Vecchio did to him, this guy lost everything. He lost his pension, he lost his job, his pension, his medical coverage. He lost everything. But he was acquitted. He was acquitted, and he still lost everything. Bastards,
Yep.
corrupt. This
Can
poor
you
guy.
imagine?
This poor guy had to depend on his wife, who was a nurse, for a living because he couldn't do anything.
We're not talking about people that care, If you even watch Del Vecchio on the Anderson Cooper, like you could cringe because he's just very matter of factly like, yeah, I knew he was killing people. I knew this, I knew that. So what? They're not good people. They're not good people, he's saying. Who's a good person? You? Who is a good person? You know who the judge of that is? God, not an FBI mishandler, okay? It's wild, So the thing is,
but he became very close with that not a good person. He became very close with Greg Scarpa.
Oh,
right?
Well, he was like are you kidding? The thing is, even the son says it. I mean, who's not credible? We have him right here. He talks all about their relationship and how inappropriate it was. There's proof there. Okay. They had a very inappropriate friendship, relationship, whatever. He admits it, even in in these Anderson Cooper thing, like I was saying, he openly talks about, yeah, we were friends. I liked the guy. You liked it? What'd you like about him? That he was killing people? Which part was it? Was it, that he was an honest person? What'd you like? That he made you feel like a tough guy because you were probably, this guy that was like abused when you were younger? Like, who knows? I think it was a power trip for him. And, you got to remember too, any of these FBI agents at the time that were corrupt, they just wanted to be in the headlines and they wanted to be photographed arresting that mobster and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's all they wanted. But at the end of the day, there are still good people that are doing their job. They're going to report back. They would never let somebody be murdering people on the street. And at the end of the day, if Scarpa wasn't behind these people that went to go after my grandfather, what would be? It was a setup. It was the FBI setting up a whole situation, and then they pinned it on him. And that's not right. And that's not, the country we live in. And there has to be justice in our department. And it's not, I'm not even saying like, I'm not going on here saying, my grandfather was an angel and they just pointed him out. Yeah, he hung out with people. He was around certain people. Does it mean that he's guilty of these things that they charged him with? Absolutely not.
Right.
Okay. Does it mean that, he deserves 3 life sentences? No. Does it mean that he deserves to die in a prison? No, it doesn't. Okay. And this evidence and all of these documented, we have court documents, everything. I have papers like this. I have, there's proof, there's evidence. And if 24 other men getting acquitted from this information isn't evidence enough, it's wild. So I'm reading some of the comments.
So it's so infuriating. I used to constantly be on like all my social media platforms, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and constantly going at the FBI. Oh my God. I used to like tweet and well, not that he ever fought back with me, but I used to tweet him at least, I don't know, 4 times a week with James Comey. Oh my God, like the corruption. Holy crap. Oh my God. And it's so infuriating when
But
you
you know
try to
what?
tell
They're so
people
pompous about it too. They're just like, yeah, so what? They knew they were untouchable.
exactly, yeah,
They knew they were
and
untouchable.
exactly. And now, you know, now it's like nobody believed it. You know, you get on there and you tell them, you know, and they're like, "Oh, please, John Gotti, he was a killer." Blah, blah. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the FBI agents are all innocent. You know, oh, John Gotti's a killer. So no, they cheat, they lie, they steal, and they are responsible for a lot of people that were killed. They are responsible.
100%.
They tried to get my brother John killed. One piece of shit FBI agent Ted Otto tried to get my brother John killed. So, but now, what I love now is that because of Trump, President Trump, now people see what the FBI, how corrupt they are. Now they see it.
See, that's part of the reason why I never really, spoke about it before. Clearly people have their judgment. They're going to say same thing, oh, well, you're talking about a gangster or this, that, whatever. But the reality is they're not guilty of the things that they're accused of. They don't deserve the sentences.
Exactly.
There's people, there's
Mhm.
FBI agents that need to be held accountable. They're
Exactly.
playing war. They're shooting, they're getting people killed. They're giving information, basically sending a
Exactly.
hitman out, telling
Exactly.
them that they want my family killed. Okay? It's documented. He's aiding in people being murdered as an FBI agent, and he's not held accountable.
Yeah.
And
There's a man. There's a man named Dominic. I'm sorry, Stephen Crea. Dominic is his son. He's in prison for life for something that he didn't do. Okay, and there is a corrupt agent, the same agent that went after my brother John, and there is someone who is holding evidence that proves that Dominic. I'm sorry, that Stephen Crea did not do this crime, this murder that he's got convicted of. And that person is holding, for whatever reason, he's not getting involved. I don't know why. But that agent knows damn well that Stephen Crea had nothing to do with this murder. And yet, their attitude is, well, if he's not guilty of that, he's guilty of something else. What do you think of that? It's infuriating. I
it's
don't know about
wild.
the other men. I can't speak on the other men because I don't know for a fact. But Stephen Crea, I know for a fact, someone has evidence that that man is an innocent. He's innocent of the crime he was convicted of, and some other asshole is holding that evidence and has not given it to the family.
See, the thing is, it's just wild because this is, there's certain cases people don't want to get involved, don't want to touch this, don't want to do that.
Yeah,
It's not right. And you know what? There has to be an outlet or a voice or whatever. There has to be a place where people could go. It's shut down immediately by the FBI because they have all the power. Now, hopefully, with some of this being dismantled, people might get a fair chance. But in the case of somebody like, my grandfather who's 90 or whatever, time is of the essence. People can't just waste time in a prison when they don't deserve to be there. There's, speaking of reform and stuff like that, there's reform groups that I've spoken to and people that are just doing great things for people that are behind bars. And, I know you and I've spoken briefly about different projects and stuff and getting
yeah,
involved at like a higher level.
yeah,
Um, I just think it's so important now with what we know and what we've been through and the suffering and seeing all these other people suffering and whatever that we really have to like do our part. I'm still trying to help myself, but I made a
'Cause
promise
now
that
is
if I
the
could,
time. Now is the
I know,
time while people know that these agents, these FBI agents, are corrupt. Now is the time. They've always
I
been
know.
corrupt. It used to make me crazy when Sean Hannity would say, "Oh, it's only the people at the top." Bullshit. Bullshit. They were sprinkled all over. Sprinkled all
All
over.
over the place,
I
all
mean,
over
I'm
the
not
place.
going to say that it should be abolished, Jason. I'll never say that because we need them for like, like kidnappings and special intelligence and stuff.
Trafficking and
Yes, yes,
even all
yes,
this stuff
yes.
that's going on in Hollywood. We
Yeah,
need people
yeah,
to be on
exactly.
those cases as well. And listen, if there are people that are out there murdering people and this, that, whatever, it's not like we're saying, oh, people should be able to roam free and do what they want. I mean, listen,
No.
I'm aware that, crime is crime. It is what it is. But being held into, being given a fair trial, being given a retrial,
Exactly. A fair
opportunity to get
trial.
evidence out there. There's certain things that should be allowed at this point, and they make it so difficult for people.
Mhm.
You know,
Exactly. Yeah, like,
I'm reading some of the.
yeah, Sicilian says they act like if they free these men, they're going to overthrow the government or something. It's like so
Well,
ridiculous.
you know what? I almost laughed too. I'm like, what do they think is going to happen? My grandfather's 90 years old. Every single one of his friends are either not alive because they're,
Yeah.
in that age group. He doesn't even know who he is half the time. What is he going to do? Get in a car, go drive somewhere and have a meeting? Like this, it's crazy what they think's going on. Like he's just living the end of his life, and it's just, it's wild what they think. It really is. Thank you, Angela.
Angela, you and Angela follow each other on
Yes.
Instagram. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know, we know during that time though, there was a specific group that was being targeted, and it was, all the Italian Americans and organized crime and whatever. And the rule in the FBI is just, there were no rules. Just whatever you had to do to take them down. If you're going to play, these games and whatever, they were acting worse than men on the street. That's what it boils down to. These agents were doing way worse and, really causing chaos. I'm reading some of these. I'm catching up.
exactly. Exactly. Are you related to Robert Arena?
I don't think so.
You don't know of a Robert? Okay.
Not
How is your brother
like an
doing?
immediate.
How is
Huh?
how is your brother doing?
My brother is excellent. He
Oh, good,
actually
good.
just had a baby, Victor the
Oh,
fourth.
wow. Oh,
Yep.
wow. You're an aunt.
So
Very
I'm
nice.
I'm an aunt times 6,
Oh,
so it's
okay.
very exciting.
Okay.
But yes, Victor's doing
Wow.
excellent.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I wonder if oh wait, I read that one already. Jackie, you're doing a great job. Yes, she is. Yes, she
Thank you,
is.
Angela.
I'm getting text messages saying this is a great guest. Great guest.
Oh, thank you. That
Uh-huh.
makes me happy. This is my
Yeah,
first time, so
exactly. And you are doing a great job. There needs to be an agency just to hold the feds accountable. Yeah, right.
well, let's hope that's what's happening now. Let's hope that's what Trump's putting in place to just crack down on all these agents. I think listen,
Exactly.
I've been waiting for this for a long time, and I know a lot of people have. It's very frustrating for like 33 years when you and your family and a small group of people understand how corrupt the FBI could be and the government. A lot of people that hear your story, you try to say it, they're like, they're crazy, they're this, that, they're involved in these things, and they're criminals, and they don't make sense. But when they start to see it now, when they,
Mhm.
light's been shined on it between what they did with Trump and all different other situations, and
Yeah.
how people are starting to realize now our stories are starting to make more sense. So it's like I've been waiting for 33 years for someone to see that, and I feel like this is the time. I feel like a lot of people are starting to get it, so that makes
I
me
mean,
happy.
if this is the thing, if they let out people who were accused of so much more and they're much younger than your grandfather and and they're much healthier than your grandfather is, why won't they let him
Well,
out? This is
because
crazy.
my grandfather was the face of this war. That
Okay, but there are men who just got
Scarpa.
out recently Yeah, that
They
also,
even
that's
gave
right. I
Scarpa
forgot about
compassionate
him.
release.
Yeah,
They
I
also gave
forgot about
Scarpa
him.
compassionate release right before he passed. So, they feel compassion for certain
What
people
about the
and not
son?
others.
The son they gave? How did the son get out?
I never really followed that.
Me
I
neither.
just remember that, when the son was giving a lot of stories about his father and some of the murders that people were away for, he was saying his father was responsible for. He even said in this article, I just wanted to quote it so I didn't mess it up, but he said that his father told him that he whacked, one of the people that my grandfather was accused of, and he said, he explained, in no way, shape, or form did I want to help Arena, but time heals all wounds. So he's basically saying, like, there was no benefit for him to tell that. He wasn't trying to help my grandfather,
Oh,
but he
right.
was giving a solid story about his father. And he's the one who was also talking about his father's relationship with Scarpa, but he's saying that his father was the one responsible for the murder that my grandfather
That
got a
your
RICO
grandfather
charge for.
right.
Yeah, they've pinned that murder on several people, just in stories and testimonies by, cooperators and stuff. So it's like, how do they just, it's this RICO thing. They could just, pin it on somebody, conspiracy, and it's a bunch of charges and whatever, and this is how they get people. But it's not fair. It's not fair.
No, it's not. No, it's
And,
not.
here we
So
are. So I'm hoping.
tell everyone what happened with you 3 weeks ago.
Oh, when my grandfather was sick.
Yeah, and you couldn't
So,
find him or anything?
basically, you would think just, if someone falls ill in prison or something happens that, someone's going to at least notify you and let you know that they're okay or whatever. My grandfather calls me daily, every day. And when I didn't hear from him for about a week, I realized something was going on and I started contacting the prison. I would call probably 3 times a day. I would send an email several times a day, and I was getting no answer, right? So in
Mhm.
the past, I've spoken to his doctors, there's no problem. I'm on his paperwork as like, somebody that's able to get his medical information. I have all his records here. They've mailed it to me. They've called me before. And
Mhm.
with this one situation, you know, 2 weeks go by, they're not giving an answer. And I'm sending email, I'm just forwarding the email probably 4 or 5 times a day. And they finally say, well, you're not on the list as like his medical person. So I go, well, then call whoever is. Somebody in my family needs to know what's going on. So they finally called my father, and, he had pneumonia or he was sick or whatever. And, the whole point is like, they can't even tell you he's okay. They want the family to suffer. It's like the wildest thing in the world. And,
Isn't
you
it?
know, I know from speaking to him that anytime he's hospitalized or anything, that they have him, a 90-year-old man that's in a wheelchair, chained to a bed with an armed guard at his foot. So
I
do you
tried to tell everyone they did this with my father too, and I'm so glad you just said that. Go ahead.
chained to a hospital bed
Mhm.
with an armed guard? And people are like, oh well, he has dementia, he's saying that. No, I've heard from nurses that work in units that when inmates come in, how they're treated and how they're cuffed to a bed by their ankles, and they have armed guards in there as if they're,
Yeah.
so whatever the case is, they're the taxpayers' dollars that have to go into one, armed guards and, the hospital care and all this stuff. Why wouldn't they burden the family with that at this point when somebody's in that condition, when someone's either on their deathbed or, whatever. Andrew Arena, he is a good guy. He's a very good guy.
Yeah. So this is Ma Brett Hunter. He said that he knows your whole family.
I
My
don't know
daughter's
his real
dog
name.
is snoring so loud right now. That's why I'm like, are you serious?
Who's snoring?
My daughter's dog.
Oh,
I
what
never
kind of
heard her
dog?
snore like that before.
Wait, I should introduce you to Vita. Hold on.
All right.
Come here, Vita. Oh, this is Vita.
Whoa, how pretty. Pomeranian.
Yeah, say hi.
Oh, hello. It's a girl, Vita.
This is Vita. She's a girl. It's so
Oh,
funny because Vita is my service animal, and now I became Vita's service animal. She has a
oh,
neurological disorder,
oh,
and
you're
she's going through
kidding.
chemo. She's going through chemo right now, but she's doing a lot better. Right, Vita?
Oh, my one of my closest friends, her dog's going through chemo too. How old is she?
She's going to be 3 in April.
Oh, she's so young.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
So, but you know what?
oh,
It is what it is, but she's still a great service animal. She's still doing her job.
oh, yeah. Oh, she's so pretty.
Thank
Oh,
you. I figured I'd
let's
introduce
see.
her.
I agree, Angela. Jackie is a great speaker. She knows her stuff. Yes, she
Thank
does. And every time I put up a comment, I take a puff on my vape. Okay. And it's not pot. So let's see.
That would have been a
You
fun show.
what? Yeah,
That would have
right.
been a fun
Imagine
show.
that. Oh my God. You are doing great, especially for your first time. See that, Jackie?
Thank you.
Let's see. Finally, a mature show with two beautiful women. Ah, Cletus. Thank you, Cletus. Trump has a serious axe to grind with the feds. I don't blame him. I just wonder, like, when he was okay, I know what I want to talk about. So my friend called me today, a very, very dear friend, and said, "Hey, Angel, you know, Michael Francis had on Rudy Giuliani." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, Michael Francis defended your father." Um, he defended your father. I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, I said, "Well, what did he defend him about?" He says, "Well, Giuliani said that, your father was stupid or something like that, because of the way he dressed. He was flamboyant." So I said, "Oh, my father was stupid? Did my father do a press conference and have dye running down the sides of his face? My father was stupid?" And then I said, "Did he talk about how karma came back to bite him in the ass and they came and knocked down his door at 5:30 in the
You
morning?"
know what? It's so funny. I couldn't help myself when that happened. I did actually tweet something out. I was like, "You don't like that Rico now, huh?"
Oh,
I
exactly. The
had to.
Rico's
I
not good
had to.
anymore.
I had to.
Karma. Listen, they sent I get emails from the like Trump and the Republican Party and all that stuff. And I
Yeah.
get an email one day and it's like it's from Giuliani and it says uh at my real name, Angela Gotti. "Angela, if this could happen to me, it could happen to you. The feds busted in my door at 5:30 in the morning." I wrote back, "Karma." He wanted money. Money. You're not getting money from me. Karma.
And that's another wild thing, how the FBI like makes a whole spectacle, like I remember when I was
Exactly.
going to school, they waited for it was like I guess it was 5 of us. Yeah, we were all born. We were all there lined up. The FBI rolls up. They had like 20 cars outside. All of my neighbors, everyone going to the bus stop, everyone standing outside watching the whole spectacle. They wanted to make sure. And they lined us up and made us walk to the bus stop as they were taking my
You
dad.
kidding? Are
No,
you serious? They did. Wait, damn, Angel, how'd you get Gina Carano to come on panel? Thank you so much, Rackison Kennel. He's saying you look like Gina Carano. Or
I don't know who that
Carano.
is.
Oh, you don't know who that is? She's a beautiful girl. Beautiful. Um, Thank you so much. So, They did that to you? See, one thing I have to say, they never did that when we were little, when we were younger and growing up. The FBI didn't come to the house. They waited for my mom, I'm sorry, my dad to leave the house, and then they would.
Mm.
Um, of course, later on, they did that to my brother John so many times. They did to my sister,
Oh,
busted down the
yeah, they
door.
wanted to make sure that it was at the hour that we were, all getting ready for school and whatever. And, the whole neighborhood was
Unbelievable.
outside watching. And, I'll never forget because we're like, what's going on? And I had to go to school. I had to get on my school bus knowing
Yeah.
that this was going on. And, I just remember my mom saying, like, don't worry, I'll come pick you up. But you don't know what's going on, and it's kind of sad too because the first case, obviously, like, they arrested him. My father, they made bail or whatever, and then they were taking him away again. He was on like house arrest for a short period of time, and then of course they were hitting him with all these other things. But for the short period of time, I remember he's like telling me, I'm going back, and I'm like, you're going to be back like tomorrow, like last time, no worries. And sure enough, that was it. Then he was gone for about 10 years. And then, they hit him with a strong sentence after that. Like, he was on, I think for 11 years, they banished him from New York. So when he did come
What?
home, yeah,
What do
they
you mean
banished him.
banished him from New
He
York?
wasn't allowed to live in the state of New York. They gave him a list of places he couldn't. He was
I
banished for
never
11
heard of
years.
that before. What
Yep,
was their
that was part of his,
reasoning?
because they didn't want him near anybody that was, affiliated with organized crime, I guess. They thought that, he was going to come out and, who knows. But he had one of the longest after sentences, I should say. Yeah, and they banished him. So of course when he came home, I was at the time 19, and he had to, leave, and I never got to live with my father ever again. So that was
Wow.
it. Yeah. So from 9 years old, I haven't lived with my father since 9 years old. So they
Wow.
really
But
they rip
you get
apart
to see
families.
him though. But you get
Oh
to
yeah,
see him, right?
now I
Well, I
see,
don't
yeah, now he's,
understand. I've never heard of anybody being
yeah,
banished
they
from their home
banished.
state.
Yep. They
Wow.
didn't want, it had to do with, like, that them wanting to keep him away from people that were involved, I guess, in the war. That was their way of
Wow.
separating him. Yeah.
So now is
So
that forever? He's banned from New York forever?
no, that was like
Oh,
11 years or something they did. But you know what?
okay.
He, he never got into trouble or anything. So
Okay,
that's
good,
another thing
good.
they should realize for my grandfather's case too. Like, everybody stayed away from trouble and everyone's good. Um,
Exactly. And let me
so
ask
it
you,
shows.
are they allowed to visit your grandpa?
Yes,
Oh, they
yes,
are?
they're allowed to visit. They weren't, for years, even
As
when they were
convicted,
away.
I thought that if you're a convicted felon, you're not allowed to visit anyone in prison.
I think once your parole or probation and all of that's over, I
Okay, all
think
right.
yeah, I think
Okay,
that,
all right.
yeah, that's what I believe at least. But yeah, they find ways to make your life miserable. So,
So now, do you get to visit your grandpa?
so I could visit my grandfather. I haven't gone in a little while, just because now it's a little tricky now that he's not really feeling so good. It's, even the last time I went, it's like they, even the guards there are like, can you sit with him till someone could bring him up? Like, he needs, a lot of care and attention. They wheel him down. It's like someone has to assist him with, even going to the bathroom. This is
Oh my
the
God.
condition that he's in, and
But can you
they want to
imagine
keep
they
him.
don't, but can you imagine that? Why wouldn't they want to like I don't know how to say this. I'm just gonna say it. Drop him on his family to take care of him. Like,
I mean,
why wouldn't
we
they
love
want
that,
to do
but
that?
Because, like I said, it's a principle at this point. They pinned the whole war on him, and they're trying to set an example. And I think that if light came to this, and something like that were to happen, and they looked over all this evidence and everything, that it would be
Mhm.
a problem. They were probably better off letting him go on compassionate release. But then again, they're going to have to let a lot of people out, and they should be home. A lot of these people should be home. They should have never went away.
I agree.
Anybody involved in that had anything to do with, if Scarpa or Del Vecchio had anything to do with their cases, they shouldn't be away.
I agree. I agree. Oh my God, it's such a shame. Um, they gave 9/11 perpetrators COVID vaccines, but they won't free Vic Orena exactly. Exactly. Um, let's see. Uh, okay, let's see. No, you don't have to time out, Lou. Lou, I always bring you up, but tonight's not this isn't the kind of show for that. There's no fooling around when it comes to this. This is very serious. This is very dear to her heart and my heart. Very dear, and there's no fooling around when it comes to this subject. None. Lou, he's a character, he's a person who comes here and and he makes us all laugh, and he does, but tonight is really not about that. But you don't have to time Lou out. Don't do that. Let's see. Miscommunications. Okay. There was always all right. It is very sad, and yeah, it's very sad and inhumane to do that to a very sick person. I agree. I definitely agree. Oh, she loves your dog. Do you dress your dog? Because Angela
No,
dresses her dog, and I think that's so mean.
Vita doesn't like clothes. She barely likes to leave. She likes to be naked.
Yeah, because
Right?
plus
Yeah.
she has a lot of hair. She's got a
She
lot of
has,
hair, so
and
she
I gave
must
her the
get hot.
lion cut. I gave her the lion cut because they keep shaving her for like the chemo and stuff. So she'll come home with like a buzzed
Oh,
arm or whatever. So I keep her body short. I keep the head fluffy. And
does she get sick from it? Does she
huh?
get sick from
Last
it?
time she did, but she,
Oh
to be
God.
honest, she was so sick. And they were telling me that I was probably gonna have to put her down. And
Oh,
I took her for an MRI, and they found the inflammation in her brain, figured out what it was, and they said that the chemo was her chance at living a little bit longer. So I opted to do it. And I was very scared at first, but I have to
yeah,
say, because anybody out there that has like a sick pet and they don't want to do the chemo because they think, the cost versus the
yeah, yeah,
benefit,
yeah.
she turned around and was doing phenomenally. I mean, this is now like 6 months we're talking. She's back to her like baseline self. So I'm very happy with the chemo. The
Oh,
last
okay.
time, however, that she got it, I came to pick her up. She was like vomiting and not feeling so good, but she's still here, and she's, going for
But is
walks and
she
doing things that she wasn't doing.
but is she feeling better right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. She's doing
Okay.
good.
All right,
Thank
good.
God.
Let's see. Teresa says, what do they think a 90-year-old man is going to do to them? They do treat people like animals. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
I'm not sure. They didn't
Hmm.
really say, they just said that, he was still a threat.
Exactly. My uncle Pete wasn't convicted of, it wasn't even accused of any murders or anything. And they would not let him out. And he was really sick. He was very sick, and they wouldn't let him out. They let him die in prison.
Ugh. It's
Uh,
just, it's just disgusting at this, it really is. It's just not right.
I agree. Jackie,
Oh, thank you.
people on Mulberry Street remember your grandfather. They all loved him. Jason
I
says,
have to
Jackie, get
say,
a podcast.
I have to say though, the one thing that is good out of all this, you talk to a lot of people that actually do know your family and have nice things to say about them. I've met a lot of people that are like, I knew your grandfather, he was this great guy, he was this, he was that,
Uh-huh.
and then you watch, some video that is on a podcast somewhere from some like rat that's saying some crazy shit, and you're like, I don't think he even knew you.
You see what I was just going to ask you about all of that. Does that drive you crazy the way it drives me crazy when these people get
So
on here
you know what?
who put people away?
It used to bother me. Like I would read something and I'm like, how could they say that? And then I started to laugh and I was like, you know what? These people literally wish they had an in or knew something or whatever. They're literally verbatim repeating FBI told tales. They're giving that narrative. They don't know anything because that's the story they're telling. And if they knew the real story, they would say something else. So I kind of just like laugh at them. I used to fact check a lot of people and get blocked on certain
Yeah.
sites and whatever. I've even gotten to fights with daughters of people and whatever. And you know what?
Oh, wait a
It's not worth
second. Wait,
not worth the
hold it
energy.
a second. Wait a second. So you got into arguments with people over this. So I'm not the only one. Okay, go ahead.
I have.
Continue.
I have. So yes, it does happen because listen, at the
Yeah,
end of the
it does
day,
because it's infuriating. It's
well, at the
infuriating
end of
when
the day, it's
Mhm,
your family. It's
exactly.
not true, and it could be frustrating. But
Exactly.
you also have to take into consideration where it's coming from a lot of the times. And you know what? I could watch something now and I could laugh. I could. Now I hear certain things or whatever, and I'm like, ha,
Mhm.
they don't know. They don't whatever. And you know what? That's not important. To me, I could give a shit what anyone's saying. The important thing to me is what happened, what is right, and getting him out. Okay,
Okay.
and anybody else is just background noise. Because at the end of the day, who knows your family member better than you? Who?
No,
You do.
nobody.
You know their
Exactly.
true side. You know their
Exactly.
heart.
Yeah.
You know what type of person they were. You knew, them from the inside out. Okay, and all of these people that have an opinion, that's all it is an opinion. So you just have to laugh at these people.
Yeah, but you know
You
what?
really do.
It's not even about an opinion. Like there's this guy who's on here now, a rat, whatever you want to call him, a cooperator, whatever, who was a drug addict his whole life, but he is telling stories how close he was with my father. And oh my God, I know your whole entire family. I knew you. No, you weren't close with my father. You weren't close with my father at all. And to me, it's so infuriating that people actually believe this guy when he tells his stories. And now, well, you just disappeared, Jackie. And now he is,
You turned into a robot for a second. Yeah.
oh, I did. All right. So it's
It paused on my end and I
infuriating.
couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. So it's infuriating to me that now you're telling these stories how close you were with my father. You used to meet him once a week, but yet you're buddy with Sammy Gravano right now.
You know
I,
what?
like what? What?
It's easy to tell a story when the person's not there to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And it's easy
But
to
my
tell a
brother
story.
is here. But my brother is
Yes.
here.
But they think, it's the same thing with my family. My family doesn't really talk about a lot of these things. So it's
Hmm.
easy to say something when someone's not speaking back.
Yeah,
And these people get
exactly.
very confident to tell stories because they feel like no one's listening or no one's going to respond or no one
Exactly.
knows or no one cares or whatever. So they're free to tell whatever stories they want.
No, I do
Listen,
respond.
yeah, but you know how many videos that some of these, people put up and I'll like send it to my father or something. And my dad will just be like, yeah, that's not true. Like he's just like, he could care
Yeah,
less.
see, my brother John's the same way. He couldn't care
Yeah,
less.
he's like, it's not true and no one cares, and that's the right
Yeah.
mentality because none of these people can, you're not giving them any power. So us defending certain people, we get upset. They don't give a shit. Let them talk. Let these people talk. Whoever believes them is just as crazy, you
Yeah,
know?
true. True.
So it's not even worth the energy or the time.
Brett Hunter says, Jackie, Peter Orena, I was in the mortgage business with him. Paul Orena, I went to Lawrence High School with. Do you know them?
But who are you, Mob Rat Hunter? What is your name? Yeah, I don't know
say
because
it. He's not going to say it on here. I
yeah,
mean,
so I mean, he's
yeah.
he's saying a lot of information on this end, but not
Yeah, but he's
relating
not
to
going to.
you.
Yeah, he's not going to tell you his name though. Well, I don't think he would.
Well,
What's this? I posted something about the irony with Giuliani and got tore apart for it politically. Some irony.
well, you know what
and
it is?
drama.
A lot of people see that he like supports Trump, so they want to like him now, and you know whatever. But the truth of the
Exactly.
matter is, listen, he is who he is. You know, did he think he was doing a good thing? Did he think whatever? Listen, we all know at this point it's bullshit. And even the things with like Rico and everything else, it's bullshit. And when he was almost hit with it, it was bullshit. He didn't like it. So you know what? Karma always comes back. People learn, you know, what it's again, it is what it is. It's in God's hands. And I like really believe that at this point. I'm like very spiritual in my life. I always say, like, whoever is no good, remove them, whatever's not meant. And you know what? The people remove themselves. These, you know, and that's part of the thing with being on here and having a platform. You want to talk, people are going to say things. You got to be prepared for it. People are going to talk shit. It's almost like little demons trying to get at you. They're not worth the energy. You can't give
Oh my
anybody
God.
energy.
You have no idea. You have
I do.
no idea.
I do.
Oh my
Because even
God.
before, if I wasn't talking about this and I was on a podcast talking about beauty stuff, there's people trying to rip me apart. There's people talking about this, that, whatever. Any way they could try to hurt you, they do. And you know what? Half the time you click on their picture and you're like, this is not even, this can't be real. This person cannot even really be giving an opinion on
Exactly.
my looks or this, that. And you know what? They do all the time. So you just have to laugh at these people. You can't let it get to you.
I'm gonna
Let's
link.
work on that together.
But I am gonna put your information in the description, because if you want to see really funny, not really nice videos, but funny, you are one funny girl. When you were
Thank
doing
you.
that, I haven't been on there in a while, but when you were doing your checkmate for a date or something like that, oh
The
my
dating videos.
God. Oh my God, how funny, Jackie.
You
Seriously,
know
very
what's
funny.
funny with that? I got into, I want to say, a little bit of trouble with that. They kept reporting me.
And said, you know what? I said, Jack, do you want to have this YouTube channel? Would you like to come on and, and speak about? I figured, like we have something in common, because of our families. I mean,
Yes.
I'm much older than you. I'm probably your mother's age, but we still have so much in common. And then Jackie started to tell me about her grandfather that, everything that they're doing to him. And I said, "Oh, we have to do this together. You have to come on." So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? It's funny because I was saying too, I've been so frustrated with what was going
Yeah.
on for the 3 weeks leading up to it that I was like, it's time. I don't even know where to, to start. Like I said, I was trying to reach different like reform groups and I'm trying to get letters out there and talk about his condition and whatever. So, I figured this would be an opportunity to talk. I know you have your private group of people that you were gonna,
Mhm.
put this out there too. I just almost dropped something off my desk. So I figured that would be, the right space for me
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get comfortable.
And then so
See if
we
I turn
said
it
that
this way.
we would do members only because we didn't want, the weirdo losers to come in here and sidetrack us and start any kind of crap. So we said we'll do this members only, and then we'll put it on public, so to get the word out there. So let's see, you were correct.
You know what? A bunch of people, just as I got off, were writing to me. I just saw it, and they were saying that they were trying to join and be a member, and they couldn't figure it out. I had like 5 inboxes on my Instagram of people
Yeah, I
saying,
sent you the videos of how to do that. I sent you the videos.
I know,
Um,
but
if they have an iPhone, it's hard. I don't know why Apple products made this so difficult to join. I have no idea. But if they have like a regular phone, like the Galaxy and stuff, that's much easier.
that's a
But you know
regular
what?
phone. I feel
We're
like
gonna put it.
everybody has an Apple.
Yeah, exactly. Apple products are a problem to get on to membership. But we'll put this public anyway, so they'll get to see it.
All
Yeah, the
right.
jealous haters, exactly.
Can you send me the link before you put it public?
Well, when did you want to put it public? Tomorrow, the next day? Whatever's up to
Yeah.
you. It's up to you.
All right. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out privately. But
Okay.
okay, here. I don't feel bad for Rudy G. It's called Just Desserts. I agree. Okay, here's a question. Was your grandfather friends with Robert? I don't know that. Weiss?
I wouldn't know either. I don't know.
I'm friends with the family. They are in South Jersey. Did somebody sell a house to someone? I think he said before.
I don't know. I can't see the comments because I wasn't.
Oh, you're on your phone now.
Yeah,
Okay,
now
she
I'm on my
can't see
phone.
the comments now. Yeah, let's see. Brad Hunter says, Jackie, I follow you on Instagram, same name as here. Then I will message you privately.
Oh, so I could see who you are.
Yeah, he'll message you privately and he'll tell you. There's too many people on here who dox people. You know, on here, if you support somebody that somebody doesn't support, oh my God, they'll make your life a living hell. They will make your life a living hell.
What do
They'll
you
start
mean?
putting, oh wow, he did die. Oh wow. Irv Gotti died. Wow. Wow, that's unbelievable. He's young. Holy crap, from diabetes, right?
Oh
But
God.
anyway, on here, if you support someone, right? You're friends with them, or you just like their show, or you just like something, and they have shit in their past and their background, and you support them, or you're just nice to them, or you just say hello to them in their chats, and the next thing you know, your kids are up on the thumbnail. Your kids are this, your kids are that, your father's this, your brother's that. That's what they do on here.
Oh, sounds like
Yeah.
a great community.
Oh, you have no idea. And you know what, I'm not gonna bring that up, but whatever. Miss Angel, Jackie would make an excellent co-host. Oh, look at that. Yes, she
Hmm.
would.
Hmm.
Yes, she would. Ah. Uh Let's see. The FBI raided our house at 5:30 a.m.
That's
Knocked the
usually the
doors.
hour.
That's it. That's it. Knocked the doors down and tore apart the whole house. They did that to my Uncle Angelo. Uh, Now, did you know any of my cousins? Because they lived in Cedarhurst too, the
I think
Ruggierios.
so. I think I knew a
Because I
few
remember. Oh wait, my cousin Angela was friends with either your father or one of your uncles. They went to school together, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my cousin
Yeah.
Angela. That's my Uncle Angelo's daughter, Ruggiero.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that they were. I don't know why. I remember her being friends with. I'm pretty sure it's one of your uncles or your father. They
Yeah,
were
I gotta
kids.
see.
They were kids in Cedarhurst. Yeah.
Well, how old, what's the age group?
Oh my God, she's younger than me. So I'm 63. I don't know. Her sister was my little flower girl. I'm trying to remember how old is my he her name was Angela Ruggiero.
Yeah, I would have to ask them, you know, but
Yeah.
it's probably one of my uncles or something.
Yeah, exactly. It could be. How old is your father?
My dad is 68, 69.
Oh, no, it's definitely not your dad.
Yeah.
It's not your dad because my cousin's younger than me. Let's see. Hopefully Jackie answers my private message on Instagram. That's my Brett Hunter. So, okay, yeah, she'll answer you, right, Jackie? I don't know.
She'll answer you.
Notice how I give the answer for you. Yeah,
Yes,
she'll
no,
answer you. Don't worry about
I
it.
was just letting that absorb. Yeah, she's gonna answer you. I was like, oh.
She'll answer you, no problem. Oh my God. Let's
She
see.
got you.
Even Joey Molino said he had your dad's counselor, and he said the counselor said it was water, and he pulled his own teeth out, just like you said. Yeah. Oh, that's what happened. Hopefully. Oh, all right. We did this one already. Must be okay. Let's see. I remember my picture froze first time I came on panel. Looked like Freddy Krueger. Oh God. At least Jackie froze beautifully.
Are you sure? I wasn't like,
No, not at all. You did. You came out beautiful. They raided 5 other houses of the same time looking for loan shark and bookmaking records. Yep, that's what they do. Um, my mother cried seeing the footage of your brother visiting your father when he was sick. Yeah, that was sad. That was sad. You have no idea. Okay. Angel, you should get Drea Di Matteo on. I bet she would do it. I don't know. We'll see. Um. Oh, so he follows you on Instagram. Jason follows you on Instagram. Angela said you're really funny. Yes, she is. If she doesn't mind, what kind of tattoo is on her arm?
oh, I have several. Which arm? What are
Oh,
we
you
looking at?
do? You really do?
Yes.
Let me see.
Well, let's see. Hold on. I have like a few. My arms are kind of, but
Oh,
it's kind of
wow.
the bulldog. This was my bulldog Mina, Philomena, who passed away. So I have her face on my
Oh,
arm.
oh.
I really love my animals, so
So do I.
as you
So
can
do
tell.
I.
So
I love animals. Oh, wow. Angel, did you watch the podcast about the guy Mark who has released a book about your dad's time in Springfield? No. Did you watch the podcast about the guy Mark who has released a book about your dad's time in Springfield? Nope. I don't even know who you're talking about. What was the book called? Yeah, I have no idea. Jackie, I started. Oops, my microphone just flew into my face. Jackie, I started following you on Instagram. I messaged you also. If you can respond, I will tell you about who I am. Oh, who I know. Thank you. Okay.
okay. Well, I'm currently
Uh,
on a live podcast, so
yeah.
maybe later.
Jackie, I think I could speak for everyone. It's wonderful and refreshing having you on. See how
Thank
nice
you.
that is? It
Thank you.
is. Gotti's last days or something? Really? How would they
Hmm.
know my father's last days?
I don't know, but everyone seems to be an expert, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Evil, even your so-called friends. Yes, Angela, exactly. Ange, remind me I have to tell you something later. Um, That's not true. If someone has an issue with who I support, then they don't see me anymore. Uh, well, yeah, that it happens, DARPA, but it's not going to happen to you. Irv Gotti passed away at 54 years old. My God, that's young. It's called Black Truth. Black Truth, The Last Days of Gotti? I don't know anything about it. Angel, tell her private. Yeah, I will. I will, Ange. I will definitely. Um, Oh, he had a stroke. Okay, he had a
Oh
stroke. All
God.
right. Yeah,
We're
stroke at
getting like the
50.
news updates and everything while we're in here. This is great.
Stroke. Also, Irv Gotti. Wow. He was 54. Jason Storman. He was real overweight. Was he really? Do you know he actually changed his name legally to Gotti? Like, I don't know. Why do people do
You're
that?
kidding. I thought he was like your relative.
No.
I'm kidding.
Oh, all right. He changed his name legally. Jackie, does your father ever talk about Angel's father? Do you mean her grandfather? Tell them the story about that you told me the other day
Which one?
about my father.
With the bat?
Yeah, tell them.
It's funny because me and my cousin Vicky, actually, this is like our funny story because we were at our Montauk house and
Hmm.
your father was there with my grandfather and, a few other friends. And me and my cousin Vicky, and I think maybe like my brother, whoever, were swinging on the swing outside on the porch. And we look up and there's a bat like in the little like wooden plank things. And we're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, freaking out, screaming, there's a bat, there's a bat. And we ran inside and we're screaming at the men, like, there's a bat, someone help us. And your father came with a broomstick and he cracked the bat and it just fell down and we're all cheering him on, like,
Oh my
"Woo!"
God.
And it was so funny because me and my cousin Vicky remember that because we were like so scared of this bat and we were like, oh my God, he knocked down a
Oh
bat. So
my God.
that's like what,
That's so
some
cute.
crazy random memory that we have, but it is kind of funny, I guess. He knocked the
Uh,
bat down and saved the kid's day. So
oh God. Why is Lee why is Lee's phone numbers all turned off? I don't know. He met your grandfather. He met your grandfather. Does your grandfather? Well, um, how would she know that now? Because now he might not even remember my father.
you know what? I don't know what he remembers or what, it's like depends on the day that you catch him. A lot of times his old memories and stuff he's sharp with. And
Hmm.
sometimes he forgets like newer things, he'll repeat himself, but it depends on the day. Some days you get him to tell stories, Sometimes I'll ask him about my grandmother and he'll be like, "Who? Who?" And then other days he's telling like these full stories.
Oh,
So
right,
it's sad, but
right.
that's why, I try to get the most I can out of him, as many
Yeah.
stories as I can.
Let me ask you this. Did he like when a lot of men when
Wait,
they
what
go to
happened?
prison, a lot of people, I want to ask you this. A lot of people when they go to prison, they like find God and stuff. Is he into that?
Um, Wait, hold on. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see
Hold
you.
on. I only see this glitter background thing. It's so weird. Okay, that was very weird. It gave me like this jazzy, like glittery,
Yeah, I have glitter background.
well, thank you for that, but it did cover my face on my thing. So, I mean, you're saying like, did he find God in prison?
Yeah, like I remember somebody said something that
He
someone.
became a Eucharistic minister in prison.
That's
Yes, you have.
it.
So
That's it.
you
That's
have
what I was.
jobs and you have things that you do, and one of the things that he did was hand out the Eucharist to other, inmates. But, I have to say, it's not like you find God in situations. My family has always been a pretty religious family. My grandmother was super religious,
Oh,
so we always
really?
had a lot of faith. Um, and I think even so now, all the things that you go through and whatever in
Yeah.
life, even for myself, some of my darkest times and whatever, I always, it's something that I went to for comfort because it did remind me, my grandmother and my father, and they always instilled faith in God. And you know what, honestly, if I didn't believe in God, like my grandfather, even everything he went through, he's still alive. He
Yeah.
survived the FBI trying to kill him. He survived a lot of things and he's still here today. And to me, I feel like we're blessed, even though we've been through a lot of things. So I have to thank God for it. And I have to thank God that, even with what my father was through and everything like that, I think that my faith and everything kept us together and keeps us going and keeps me strong in believing that, there's a chance that he will come home. So yeah, I think these are all good things,
Yeah. I'm gonna get you Chad Mark's phone number. I have to. I think I know some. I think I know two people that have his number. I'm going to ask them, and and
Yeah, I appreciate it.
without a doubt, because that's really a shame. It really is a
Yeah.
shame. 90 years old, and he's had like model behavior, right?
Yeah. He's been excellent in there. So he has nothing,
So right, he
that
has
they could say.
nothing against him and nothing.
Mm-mm. No. So, it really is a shame how they treat
And he's
people
been in there since 1992, right?
too. Yep.
92.
33 years. So that's a life sentence in itself. You think about the age that he was when he went in and where he's at now. And, you know, um, even with all this corruption and everything that took place, I mean, I honestly believe that he should have been acquitted like everybody else.
Yeah.
But even so, even, whatever.
Oh, we lost you again, Jackie.
The thing again. I was
Oh, there
frozen
you
again.
go.
But at this point, I think it's safe to say, like, the man did his, and he should be home.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I just
Exactly.
hope that I could, work some magic somehow.
Definitely.
But
I will definitely get you his phone number. Definitely. No matter what I have to do to get it, I'll get it. I
all
haven't
right,
I know two people that know him. I will definitely get it for you.
all right, excellent. All right,
Okay.
well, we've been on for
Jackie,
quite some
it was,
time.
yeah, almost 2 hours, and it was an absolute pleasure. And I hope we're
Thank
gonna
you.
do more things together.
Yes. So we have some things in the works. We'll be in
Yes,
discussions with it, and
yes,
we'll be
definitely.
seeing more of each other. So thank you
Yes.
for bringing me on, and
Thank you. Thank you.
send me the link.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Oh, what do you want?
I
No,
said
Jack,
send me
what'd
the
you
link.
say?
Send me
Okay,
the
to
link
what?
to the
Yeah, to
recording when
what?
it's done.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I sent it to you earlier. Did you get it?
Forget it.
All right, I'll send it to you again. All right.
Goodbye.
All right.
Good night.
All right. Good night, Jackie. It wasn't that great. Ah, thank you. Thank you. That was great. I really like her, and we have some plans. We have some plans in the works, and we'll let every one of you know um as soon as. I just want to say I appreciate her coming on so much. Someone did try to sabotage this, and thank God they didn't succeed. Um, thank you very much, everybody. I'm gonna end this now, and I'm going to let's see, what is that? Oh, let me just thank this. Thank you, Jason, for becoming a new member. Thank you, Rocco, for becoming a new member. And thank you so much, Rakasan. Rakaka, how do you say this? Rakakasan. Kennel. Thank you so much. And let's see. I have some more comments. Thank you, Angela. Thank you. Thank you, Dappa. Thanks, Real Deal. Thanks, Sicilian Syndicate. Let's see. Good night, Frankie. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for becoming a member, too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was trying to make it hit on exactly 2 hours. but we'll end it now. Good night, Jason. Good night, Margaret Hunter. Everybody have a great night. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. A million thank yous. Thank you. Play out. Everybody loved him. Hundreds of people would be by the courthouse. And he, put up his finger to the government, and that's it. This man is dying, and you still have him in solitary confinement. He was tied, his feet to the bed, and his hands were tied to the bed. People want to question if my father was weak or tough. He had a severe kidney infection. He was sick. He didn't get to see a doctor. By the time he got off the bus, he was covered in blood. If there was ever a time to become a rat or something, it would have been then. No, instead he fought 5 trials. Eli has never had any conversation with my father. You lie about my son? Like, this is how sick they are. I defend my family. I think I do a pretty good job of defending my family. But other people defend my family also. I don't ask them to do it, but they do.